Are you looking to do deals and master flipping houses? Welcome to the DoDeals Show with our host, Mr. Tim Mai. As a successful investor and mentor to many real estate investors, Tim's students consistently run 6- and 7-figure investing businesses. Each week, you'll hear from top real estate investors who share the best strategies, systems, and secrets that you can use to be more successful. Tim and his guests will pull back the curtain for you to learn their exact tactics, tricks, and tools that are working best right now in today's real estate market. Now, let's welcome Mr. Tim Mai.
Well, hi everybody. Hi Facebook Live. Today I have my good friend Erik Stark on the line with us today. I'm interviewing him about his transition. Him and his partner Steve transitioned from doing wholesaling into doing development and apartment buildings, so bigger, much bigger, more complicated deals. Erik, can you share with everybody what is your one tip for people in terms of either they're getting started or they're running into roadblocks and not sure, what is the best strategy for today's market, especially like going into 2017 here?
First of all, thanks for having me on today, Tim. That's a really, really good question, and we get asked that quite a bit. The one thing that I try to tell people, because I see so many people struggling with not knowing what to do, is I always tell people to work a strategy and stop chasing opportunity. And I guess what I mean by that is instead of, doing this technique one day and this another day and this on Wednesday, pick a strategy that you can be very passionate about learning everything about and build it, create it, automate it, simplify it, hand it off to somebody and start focusing on the next. But instead of trying to juggle multiple things where nothing's getting done, I would tell people to work a strategy and stop chasing opportunities.
That's awesome. I love that. And it reminds me of this saying my mentor always says, one of my mentors, he says it like this: the best marketing is the one that you do consistently.
That's right.
Right. So the best strategy is the one that you do consistently. That's it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, Facebook Live. Make sure you keep an eye out for, when we upload the entire interview, okay? Erik Stark. All right, Facebook. See you in a bit. Okay, cool.
Good little teaser.
Yeah, so Erik, yes, we're going to continue with our interview now. So share with us, a little bit about yourself, how you and Steve got started, and I know that you guys started with wholesaling, and how what made you transition to where you are now, and how that process went. So
sure.
Yeah.
So Steve and I joined partnership back in 2008, and our first 3 years in business just went absolutely crazy, buying and wholesaling and renovating. At the turn of the market, where we noticed the foreclosure inventory start to dry up, we began getting on top of the direct mail and building very focused, quiet, directed lists towards our target market areas, and just kind of went crazy with direct mail. So we were a little bit ahead of the curve with the people that started to recognize that the margins were getting smaller, the inventory was getting less, and we started creating some consistent deal flow on some opportunities in better parts of town. And what we were recognizing on a lot of those appointments was the prices that these sellers wanted for some of these properties was more than we could pay. And the reason was the numbers didn't make sense anymore. There was, the house was worth $250 when it was finished. They wanted $200 and it needed $35,000. You're like, there's no margin here. But we recognized a pattern because there was a couple of new construction opportunities that were slowly starting to come up back in 2011 and 12. And we began to seek out some of those builders where we began to find distressed or really dilapidated looking properties that needed to be knocked down. Really, they were well past the point of needing to be renovated, and we would go tie them up for this number, and it would be a very thin margin for an investor to make any money. So we started going after these builders, and we seen these large wholesale fees on these pieces of dirt, and we're like, that's just a significant amount of money. I mean, it's one thing to make $2,000, $5,000, $7,000, $10,000 on a wholesale deal, But when you can make, 30 to 50 to, we've made as much as 92,000 on a wholesale just for a piece of dirt. Wow. Sell a property that needed to be knocked down to a builder. And that was kind of the click. It started with the single family, seeing this huge gap in opportunity where other people just were not going after those properties. So we began to apply it to the multifamily world. We would go after, duplexes and fourplexes and things like that. And it just kind of continued to grow where the ultimate strategy we were doing was maximizing every single property we were looking at. We were still getting very good, consistent leads. However, we weren't doing 100 properties a year anymore. We were only doing 25. So we were maximizing all 25 of those units, even if it was a single family new construction, knocking down an old, functionally obsolete duplex and building brand new 3-story condos with underground parking. We really started to change the way we looked at the opportunity in our market, and simply go after that strategy specifically. So that was kind of like the big shift for us of transitioning back then. And now we are full-fledged on scale to buy land development opportunities in great parts of town, mostly through owner financing where we can control the dirt, cash flow for a while, and then slowly start to bring in investor partners where we can build on these properties.
Gotcha. Now, so I kind of recap a little bit, but also get some clarification too. So you guys were doing wholesaling, and then you see that, hey, there's these, land, these lots, or these tear down properties that you can be selling to builders.
Sure.
And then you saw the spread on that, and then you were like, hey, why don't we try doing this ourselves, right?
That was Steve. Steve's like, hey, just think of the money we're making wholesaling these to these builders. What if we become the builders, and not only do we get the builder money, we get the margin in between here. So that's why I love my business partner, because he's the visionary. He's the one that sees those things, and he loves development.
That's awesome. And then, in the beginning, when you guys choose to go that route, did you partner up with one of those builders?
Yeah. So again, this is where I absolutely love my business partner. We the first couple of deals, we just wholesaled off to a builder and began learning about how that model operated. And before long, we just brought a builder in with our company and physically partnered with him to where not only do we sell him a couple opportunities throughout the year, but we partner on a lot of builds. He does all of our builds, all of our maintenance, all of our management, and all of our stuff. So just by bringing in that builder, you're able to control your costs more. You're able to have another, set of shoes that are on the ground working to bring deals as a whole. It's not like, I know a lot of people are like, how do you bring in a competing builder as a team member and like keep that all under one roof where like there's no, animosity or anything like that. But it's been a really good marriage between all of us. It really has.
That's awesome. Okay. So, so now in that transition, like you said, you guys expanded from single family homes into multifamily, and then looking at these deals differently. How do you know? I guess let's start with, what are the type of neighborhoods that you go into that says, you know what, this area, these type of neighborhoods are ideal for the, these reconstructions that we're doing, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's real estate 101. It's, for us, it's location, location, location. We are going to the in-demand, beautiful parts of town where guys like you and I want to take our spouses out to dinner. Everybody wants to be there. It's got the downtown vibe. There's a great little sub-economy. It's kind of thriving. It's not a distressed war zone. It's where everybody wants to live and reside at. So we go into these neighborhoods and look for these opportunities of owning the ugliest house or the ugliest complex inside of the most beautiful neighborhood. And, at the end of the day, Tim, what a lot of people really don't apply to real estate, besides the location factor, is understanding the zoning. Zoning really changed our value add model to allow us to look at something that was currently standing and say, well, that's all that it could ever be. It can only be a 35-unit apartment building, and there's nothing we can ever do with that. We just have to work with what's there. But that's just not true. So many master plans are changing, so many properties are coming up to their 40-year inspections, and they're just getting to the point where these cities want to see newer developments going on. The economy is thriving. People are parking money in these great sub-economies, in these great markets, and these people demand new inventory because, it's a primary home. It could be a secondary home. So we're specifically going after areas where people want to live.
That's awesome. So, how does one go about learning some of these areas and learning about the zoning? Like, do you go and, join those zoning committee and go to their meetings, or how does all that start?
Absolutely, Tim. If life is a good old boys club, that is exactly what we have to do. I mean, we get involved with the building department, the zoning board. We go to all their meetings that they have. We go to these cities and get a copy of their master plan. We meet with the building department to say, what areas are you focusing on in town? Where are you going to be concentrating retail? Where are you going to be putting commercial strip centers? Where would you like to see high density residential built so you can have the people that live in these little efficiency condos work, live, and play inside of this community? I mean, the face of real estate and development is changing with Uber coming into the business, and I know down here in Florida, Uber is changing the zoning to where people don't require so much parking because people don't have cars.
Wow.
So much more efficient for them to Uber around town. And when you understand things at a sub-economy, micro level, and a lot of it is relationships and, people nudging, saying, hey, we're going to be focusing a lot of what we do in this part of town. We go in that part of town and start identifying properties, building relationships with property owners, and getting control of them. A lot of the times we don't. So much of what we do now is just putting option agreements out there and getting control of a property, and then going and finding an investor partner, sitting with an architect and finding out what's possible there. It's a long way from a. Did I lose you for a second?
Yeah, I lose you for a second. You were saying it's a long way from, and then you got cut off.
It's definitely a long way from the flex option that you used to teach years. I still think about that document. I'm like, man, we are not in Kansas anymore, Tim.
That's awesome. Wow. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot more advanced. It's like, now you're really like playing with the big boys, right?
It's a real business. It's not, it's not work from home anymore. It's like a real business where we have multiple offices, multiple partners. Our whiteboard's got deals going in every direction and borrowing money from here and sub-collateral over here. I mean, it's very complex.
Wow, yeah, it does sound like that too. So when you go into these areas, these owners, these properties owners, they don't necessarily know what's going on in the area, or they don't see your vision for what's going on, right? And then that's how you come in and you negotiate with them as is, where is.
Sure.
And you try to get an option so that way it gives you time to do your due diligence. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you get any? I mean, I'm sure some of them will, but what has been the response in sense? Like, do you get a lot of pushback, or most of them are pretty open?
It's we get a little bit of mixed results. We get people who want to be involved. We get people who absolutely love the idea and say, hey, if you can involve me on a project like that, tell me more, show me what you guys do, let me feel comfortable with you. And instead of you guys just having to cash me out and go on your way and do what you got to do, find a way to keep me included so you don't maybe have to fork out all the money for the acquisition and then more money for an architect. So many people, especially in these prominent areas, they're looking for additional opportunities where it's not all them having to do the work all the time. We have the system in the team in the operation in place where, since we can bring that value to the table, we're looking for opportunities where we don't have to fork out so much collateral and have that additional expense. So, in some cases, we're able to blend it together, and then you still get calls from people that say, don't ever contact me about my property again. It's not for sale. So we get a mixture of everything.
Gotcha. Okay. So now let's move on into like finding money partners, deal partners. What is that process like? Yeah, and how do you find these people? Where do you find them?
Great question, Tim, because the old ways that we used to raise money was very simple to explain. When you're sitting with somebody saying, "Hey, we're buying a house for $100,000, it's worth $2, we're putting 30 into it," it's a no-brainer. But when you're talking about long-term, low-rate, good interest financing that is cash flowing, it requires management, the market's high, so they know you're paying a premium, but we're going to knock it down and build it. It's very complex. So it takes the everyday investor who doesn't want a very risky portfolio and kind of moves them out of the way. So the best opportunity is to kind of go to the marketplace. So many of our investor partners are builder relationships, the owners of these apartment complexes, the guys that are doing huge developments already. And, we can show people a project that we're looking at and they're like 50 units, like we're doing 400 units, one community over. For us to be involved in this little thing is nothing. So you have to go to a totally different level of clientele.
Right.
But the thing is we speak that language. We bring something to the table. We have a platform that allows us to operate in that space. So we're not just wishful thinking our way into that industry. You're able to really provide value and sit down with people that are above us and kind of bring them into some of the projects that we're doing.
That's pretty cool. I like that a lot. So, share with us in terms of the mindset that's needed, right? Because like you said, these are much more complicated transactions, much bigger transactions. For most investors, like even including myself, like I've never done anything that, of that size or even that complex, right? What is the mindset shift that's needed to make it work or to even get into it?
It's that 10 times model, Tim. We live very great lives. We're very blessed. But you realize that everybody's kind of limited by their own capacity. And until we understand, like the whole word real estate is just synonymous with leverage. And, you're very good at what you do. Your students are good at what you do. Steve and I are very good at what we do, but we're still limited in our own capacity. So if we don't find a way to get like some pry bar leverage and really find a way to increase our capacity, we can't add more hours to the day. So we have to find a way to, jab the crowbar into the side of the economy and say, how can we 10 times our industry by bringing, more knowledge, more value add, understanding deeper levels of zoning and building. The mindset, I guess, is just roll up your sleeves and get ready to do more work in a field that you absolutely love to do. But it's smart work.
Right.
I got to be honest, Tim, like the way that, at one time these deals were very complex in our brains, there's times when I look at the things that, people go through on a wholesale deal. And even though some of our deals can take 2 years to complete, there's wholesale deals that are more complex than, again, it takes a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
The process flow is very simple once the vision is there. So it is a totally different mind shift, and it comes down to us understanding leverage. We can't add any more hours. We can't work any longer throughout the day, so we have to find a way to increase our own capacity, and we just have to find bigger deals.
Right. Okay, so, when you say bigger deals, how much bigger are these deals compared to, say, like a single-family home wholesaling? Is it 10 times, 20 times, like...
Definitely. Especially in our Detroit market where you can find houses for as cheap as $5,000, and our target, you would say our average single family price of deals we do is probably around $100,000. So when you're looking at buying a piece of dirt that's got, a little 4-unit apartment on it, but it's just a huge tract of land, you're looking at buying it for $999, you're spending $1 million just to lock up some dirt. Now you got to spend money on architecturals and surveys and designs and renderings and permit fees. So it's 10 times thinking for sure. It's definitely 10 times the money too.
Right. That's awesome. And then would you say, I've kind of seen this firsthand too. A friend of mine, he's he's like the super, what is it called? Like super attendant or like of a
yeah. Superintendent of a job site.
Superintendent, yeah. So he's like one of the top guys. And he said, the builder that he works for is very, is a big builder here in town. And he shared with me how it's just so amazing how they go into an area that is, let's say it's worth 100,000, right? But they build out a big subdivision, and now it takes, houses that are, it takes what is typical in that area, houses worth 100,000. Now they're worth 300,000-400,000 because all the other houses are that price because, they come in and they create sort of the market like that.
You create the economy.
Yeah.
With every new house you build, you're raising the bar.
Yeah. And I was like, I've always been so fascinated with that. And I get to see it many times, as an investor. I see that being done over and over and over.
Absolutely.
But it's like just, but I guess so far, all I've ever done is just like, being in awe of what those builders, did and created. Right?
And you can't do that in every economy. You can only do that where there's huge demand. Nobody wants to build houses in a commodity housing rental area. Habitat for Humanity might, but builders aren't going to flock there and start building homes. You can only do it where there's big demand.
Right. That's awesome. So share with us about your team. How big of a team does it take to do all the stuff that you guys do?
Believe it or not, our main team is me, Steve, and our assistant Karen.
Wow.
That is that's who runs our day-to-day operation, but we have several partners and subcontractors, and again, when it comes to the builder side of it, the builder truly handles every aspect of it. We just have to make sure that we sit with them to understand the draw schedule, the documents, when they get paid, when the lumber gets delivered, when the windows are getting put in, because we have certain obligations to let the lender partner know, because this lender is taking a huge risk by saying, not only did I put the money out to acquire that piece of property, because the mortgage is typically the collateral instrument and it's against the house or the apartment. We're knocking that down so they have no more collateral except the land.
Yeah.
Worked out this big amount of money for the land. Now they're putting out more money to construct. It takes a little bit of trust in relationship, and they want to be able to drive by and say, okay, the foundation's in, the structure's being built. I feel comfortable in giving them, the next draw. So there's a lot of moving parts, but when you have a controllable, manageable team that is A players and very good at what they do, it allows us to sit confidently at any opportunity, make our lender feel secure, the seller feel secure, the buyer feel secure, the builder be secure, and us to really minimize our risk. So it's a small focused team of just us three, but we have a lot of networks throughout that really help make this possible.
I love that. I love that simple setup, because like a lot of times when I think about these big projects, I'm like, wow, they probably have a lot of, a big team, a lot of overhead, a lot of infrastructure. But what you do is you partner up with, with people who are good at what they do.
Right.
But the builder has all of their team in place already, and so outsourcing to to the experts. So you guys just be sort of like the deal maker, right?
It's what a developer does. A developer sits there and says, we have a parcel of land. I can vision this structure going there. We bring in the money, we bring in the builder, and you just make it all happen.
I love that. Now that makes it a lot more simple.
That's simple.
Yeah,
That's all you got to do.
Right. Now that makes it a lot more simple, a lot more doable. I like that a lot. So I know you have now moved to Florida, and Steve is still in Michigan. Share with us some tips around your partnership, both in terms of how you work together, as well as how does it work for one person to be in a local market and another person to be somewhere else.
It originally it brought its challenges. However, Steve and I have an absolutely awesome partnership. As you can imagine, with a lot of these development deals, they take a very long time to complete. So, having to have a 9-month, 12-month, 18, 24-month gap in between these big paydays, we still have to keep an operation to, pay the bills, make sure our operation is going. So I still handle all of our marketing. Steve and I raise the money together, but I still do, quite a bit of wholesales, sitting right here and keep the bills paid, keep our company operating and stuff like that. So, we're still finding opportunity. It's at a much bigger level nowadays. But it actually works pretty well because it keeps me out of Steve's hair and off the job site and allows me to focus on, I'm kind of more of an office guy. I love being in the streets. I love being in the field. But I'm a data junkie, and that's where my whole passion starts at. I love the list. I love the data. I love starting right here at my computer. And when I go to Michigan, like I'm like all in the field. So I can do everything that I have to do here. When I go up there, I'm in my vehicle, from morning to night and just pounding the streets, looking for more opportunity, meeting with people, building our pipeline and keeping things going. So I still go there every single month and help the team out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm not just hanging out by the beach drinking margaritas while Steve, builds everything.
Yeah, and I love that because I know Steve is a very people person kind of guy, right? He's visionary. He loves people. He loves talking to people. You love data. You love all the back office stuff. Makes a perfect partnership for sure. That's awesome.
Yes.
All right, so people are probably interested in what you're doing and probably want to learn more from you. Where do you want to send them?
You guys can find me on social media. Just go to Facebook and go to the Erik Stark or the real Erik Stark. I don't really have any blog websites or any big coaching program, and we do real estate. So you can connect with me there. Maybe if someone listening says, hey, well, I have some money, these kind of projects sounds good, how do I get involved? Is there a place that you send them? Yeah, you can go to our company website, PinMD Real Estate, and I can shoot that over to you so you can put it at the bottom of the podcast.
Okay.
But PinMD Real Estate up in Michigan, and he'll tell you everything you need to know about getting involved with us.
That's perfect. Awesome. Now, I believe that all entrepreneurs are heroes. Do you see yourself as a hero?
I wouldn't say in the business world. Maybe as a parent and as a husband, but I wouldn't say so much in the business world I'm not a hero.
Okay.
I would say so. I'm more like a janitor, to be honest with you. I just messes all day long. I take care of people's problems.
Gotcha. No, but that is being a hero, like solving people's problems and bringing opportunities to the market. I mean, there's, when you're doing the development, not only are you bringing housing to the area, but you're helping create the whole economy for the area, providing everything from jobs to sales, all of that happens, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So, all right, one last insight, tip, wisdom that you want to leave with everybody.
Get a mentor. I would tell you to get a mentor. Stop chasing opportunity, work a strategy, and get a mentor. Those have been the biggest breakthroughs in our business. Those two simple things. Find somebody that can take you by the hand and help you get to where you want to go. And I guess also make sure you have a hand down to help somebody get to where you are as well.
That's awesome. I love that. Thank you so much, Erik. This has been a phenomenal interview. I love it a lot. It's been a while since you and I talk and, talk to Steve as well. But I love hearing your growth, from where you guys were back then to where you are now, and just, have grown your business so much and done so many awesome stuff. So just thank you so much for taking your time to be on this interview with us today. Thank you so much, buddy.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate everything you do for the community, Tim. I really do, man. You're a good soul.
Awesome. Thanks, Erik. All right, everybody. See you on the next interview. Bye for now.
And that's our show for today. If you have any questions or would like to get further training from Tim Mai, please visit our website at www.dodeals.com/Tim.